throughout the entire world. It has affected everybody's life in some or the other way. We hear a lot of news, we watch a lot of news, but we want to know clarified information from doctor's perspective. And that is why we have Dr. Augustus. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Anjana. Please go ahead.
So, what is coronavirus? Is it a deadly disease or is it something normally like a fever or cold?
First of all, we should know what a virus is. So, virus is something in between a living and non-living thing. See, I am a living thing, a stethoscope is a non-living thing. So, virus is something in between. So, virus is nothing but a piece of small genetic material. Okay, so this piece of genetic material is looking for some place to grow. So, this particular new coronavirus is looking for a human body to grow, reproduce, and keep on moving from one to another. So, this is what a virus is. This virus has been with us for billions of years. So this new coronavirus is a new virus which has come, so which is spreading very fast. So right now when you take 100 people, so it is going to affect about 85 without any symptom. So you won't even know. Probably you may have, I may have, but you won't even know that you have a virus. So 15% of the people, they have some symptoms, fever, cough, sneezing. Of those 15%, 5 may need hospital admission. Of them, 1% may die. So when you really look at, you take 100 people and only one person is dying, this you cannot consider a very deadly disease.
Okay. Precautions that one can take to protect ourselves from COVID-19.
So it's a very interesting question. For everybody, we should have 4 golden rules. Out of the 4 golden rules, first is a do, last is a do, second is a don't, third is a don't. We'll see one by one. First do is hand sanitation. Wash your hands either with soap and water or clean your hands with a good alcohol-based solution. So point number 1, keep your hands clean and hand sanitation. Point number 2, don't touch your face. Never touch your face because you're going to get the virus to your face and into the respiratory system. The third don't is don't cough out, don't sneeze out. Whatever virus you have, don't throw it out. So this is the third thing. The fourth thing is keep your distance. This is the distance you keep is 1 meter. And why they say you keep 1 meter distance is, so everything when I'm talking, I may be throwing virus out in small droplets. So these droplets, they don't travel long and within a meter they can fall down. So when you keep 1 meter distance, when I'm talking, when I accidentally sneeze or cough, the virus may not reach you, and that is why we keep a distance of 1 meter. So remember 4 things. Clean hands, don't touch your face, don't throw things out, and keep the distance. These are the 4 things. How many times you ask, this is going to be the answer coming in very different forms.
So that was really informative, sir. So how can you avoid the risk of getting infected from COVID-19?
Okay, so avoiding risk of infection is first and foremost, right now we are practicing what is called quarantine. You should know what is quarantine, what is isolation, and what is social and physical distancing to start with. So the word quarantine is you're healthy and you stay home. That is called quarantine. You're not healthy, you got the virus, you're staying home. It is called isolation, either at home or in the hospital. So that is isolation. The third thing is social distancing and physical distancing. Basically, social distancing is you avoid crowds, cinema halls, malls, and big crowds. The physical distancing, you go out shopping, you maintain the distance. So these are the 4 basic things you practice as far as this physical distance is concerned. The next, like I said, when you come home, first keep your hands clean because you're likely to have touched something. So you touch the table, you touch the stethoscope. So these are called fomites. These are the things that can carry the infection. I touch this and bring this here, I may put the infection into my face. So first, keep your hands very clean, either by washing with soap or water. The second thing is you put an alcohol-based thing. The next is don't touch your face. And the third thing, like I said, is respiratory hygiene, it's called. Respiratory hygiene. So what is respiratory hygiene? When I cough, I see that nothing comes out. When I sneeze, nothing comes out. So the best thing you can do right now, what is recommended, is to wear a mask. When I wear a mask, if I accidentally sneeze or cough, I'm likely to keep the particles within here. So that is advantage. The next, we have already talked about social distancing. These are the basic things: quarantine, isolation, then physical distancing, social distancing, hand washing, respiratory hygiene. All these things, if you practice, you are very likely to avoid contact with the virus.
So, talking about a mask, how long can a mask be used continuously, sir?
Okay, so mask, we'll start with the basics of mask. So mask is either a health worker wears a mask or a common man wears a mask, like you, a school student or a teacher. So what is recommended today in India is it's enough you wear a cloth mask. So when you're wearing that, if it gets wet, if it gets dirty, you accidentally sneeze, it may take about 3 to 4 hours. So maybe 3 to 4 hours you can use a particular mask. Maybe you can extend it by another 2 hours. So that is maximum 6 hours for a cloth mask. If you're wearing a absorbent mask, then 4 to 6 hours max, just you dispose it. When you're disposing it, be careful, don't put it on the table. Use a proper bin to dispose your mask.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What is the best way to wash our hands properly?
So washing hands properly, first, the simplest thing is to have a soap, a cake of soap. You don't have to have a liquid soap, a basic soap. You take the soap, you start working out a foam on your hand and wash preferably up to your elbow. So when you're washing, see that every surface comes into contact. Wash like this, wash between these are called webs of fingers, then clean the thumb and wash everything and keep it in running water like this and let the water run not from here to here but from top to your elbow and let it and dry it up. So why do we do it? So you asked about what a virus is. So a virus is, I told you, a small piece of genetic material. So this has got a cover, and this cover is made up of a little bit of fat like wax. So when you put soap on that for 20 seconds, that fat layer is going to get dissolved. So once it gets dissolved, the virus is exposed and the virus dies. So that is the basis of your hand washing with soap and water, and in 20 seconds any virus will be killed if you're using soap and water.
Thank you, sir. Like, if a child has symptoms of COVID-19, what should be done immediately, sir?
Yes, your question is, if a child appears to have COVID-19 symptoms, what should be done? First of all, we should be aware of what the symptoms are. So basically, if your child starts sneezing, starts coughing, runs a bit of temperature, has any difficulty in breathing or has chills, these are called flu-like symptoms. So many a time you see such symptoms. So don't take them lightly. So when you see these symptoms, the child is likely to be developing a COVID-19 symptom. So once you have any query or doubt, the best is to call your doctor. And the doctor will advise you whether to come for a checkup, wait at home, in self-isolation. So follow the instructions of the doctor. So once the doctor thinks the child needs testing, the doctor will recommend a testing, go for a testing, and then based on that we can decide whether the child needs a hospital admission or not. So basically you should know what are the flu-like symptoms, like I told you: sneezing, coughing, fever, chills, and these days they also say loss of, your child says, I cannot smell something. Okay, the loss of smell can also be a symptom of COVID-19.
So if a child is already on another medication, should be a change there for the medication being given?
See, most of the times, most of the children, unless they are undergoing some major treatment like some treatment for cancer, so some children come to school with blood cancer on treatment, and some children may have cancer, some children may have some autoimmune disorders where they are put on what is called immunomodulator drugs to reduce the immunity. For some children, the immunity may be acting against such children. So these children, if they are on steroids or drugs, anti-cancer like methotrexate, all these children should be quarantined at home and they should not come to school, because these are the children who are likely to be affected. So if it is possible to reduce the drug, best is to reduce the drug. If it is not possible to reduce the drug, keep the child in quarantine till the real phase of infection or severe infection is over and get the child back.
Thank you, sir. So, talking about immunity, how can we boost our immune system?
So immunity is a very interesting thing. There are many things about immunity. So basic instruction for all of you is, I'll tell you 4 things. First, eat a normal diet. When I say eat a normal diet, have your idli, dosa, rice, chicken, whatever it is. Don't try to do anything about that. So you know your normal diet, you eat your fruits and all these things. So first, your nutrition, basic, normal, good nutrition, nothing extra. Okay, you don't have to take extra B complex tablets or anything. So about nutrition, what we are eating normally is good enough. The second thing is adequate exercise. So there is no excuse for not exercising. You're at home, pace up and down. If you're only 2 steps at home, go up and down. So 30 to 40 minutes of good physical activity is a must. When you do this physical activity combined with a bit of sunshine, so sunshine, you can always go to the terrace or wherever where you dry your clothes, you'll have some sunshine. So get some sunshine and get some vitamin D going in your blood. So 2 things we have said. One is nutrition, second is exercise and sunshine, and the third most important thing is adequate sleep. So at home, try to sleep at least 6 hours a day. I don't say 8 hours. Adequate sleep. So when you sleep adequately, you are less stressed. So reduce your stress. So these are the common things you do. Finally, if you're a child or if you are an age group where you need other immunizations, like this period, children are missing immunizations. They're missing polio immunization, they're missing whooping cough immunization, they're missing tetanus immunization. So what all the basic immunizations to keep your other immunity going, you should have done it. So if you follow these 4 things, good nutrition, good exercise, good sunlight, and adequate sleep, and if you're immunized well and doing normally, your immunity will be fine. So don't try to do anything extra by drinking this, drinking that. Okay, so if you're normal, doing the normal things, your immunity will take care of your body.
Okay. Like nowadays, like there are so many people who go for extra things to keep up our immunity. Now, have you said this? It could be really informative.
See, only thing is, we can only go by scientific evidence. Okay, scientific evidence, what the evidence says. So the evidence says only 2 vitamins are important, vitamin D3 and vitamin C. So vitamin D3 you get from sunshine. So vitamin C you get a bit of either your basic citrus fruits you eat, you get vitamin C. Anything other than that, when you add, is there any evidence which says that it is going to boost your immunity? There is no evidence. So in the absence of scientific evidence, we cannot drink this and that and believe that our immunity is better. So do the basics. Again, don't try to do something which is not going to really help you. In fact, it may be counterproductive. So you do not know. When I drink something which I do not know, I will not drink it. Okay. So when I know, something is really basically helping me, what the science says, the evidence says, we go by evidence-based science. Okay.
Thank you, sir. We hear that 80% of this disease is asymptomatic, that is, we don't get to know the symptoms of it in the early stage. So what should public do in that kind of situation?
So first question is if people are asymptomatic, whether it is good or bad. So I'll say it is good because you're not developing symptoms. It is really nice. But the only thing, the danger of not knowing a symptom is you're likely to infect somebody. So in order not to infect somebody, I've told you, keep the distance, wash your hands, don't cough into somebody's face, do all this. And even if you're asymptomatic, another thing what is recommended today is to wear a mask. So do all these things, you're less likely to infect others. Being asymptomatic is very good, but you should not be infecting others. Right. Right.
So earlier you told us to have 30 or 40 minutes of physical exercise every day. So staying at home, how can we keep ourselves active?
Okay, basically you're saying during quarantine period how to stay healthy. So we should know what are the components of health. Physical well-being, mental well-being and social well-being. Physical well-being, whatever the space you have, keep walking, keep doing something. So this will keep you physically active. Mentally, you have to keep doing something. They say idle mind is devil's workshop, right? So you keep your mind active, you keep doing something constructive. If you're an artist, try some art, you can play some music. So this is thing, second thing. So social well-being, because we are not in real physical contact, you have the social media platforms where you can connect with your friends, your people, your relatives. So you keep your physical thing going well, you do your mental activity and you do your social activity. I think you're going to remain healthy at home.
So saying that when we have a physical activity, like we'll definitely will sweat a lot. So is sweat a medium of infection?
See, there is no evidence to say that sweat is a source of infection. Okay, so unlike the droplets from your respiratory system, sweat doesn't infect people. So you don't have to, that does not mean that you're going to put your sweat on somebody else, but sweat is not infective as far as the medical evidence is concerned. So sweat is not a problem.
So what is an antibiotic, sir? Will it be useful for COVID-19?
Okay, first of all, we should know what an antibiotic is. Okay, the first of the antibiotics that came was penicillin. So anything from natural source is called an antibiotic. Anything from an artificial source is called an antibacterial. For example, I told you penicillin, ampicillin, these are called antibiotics. Ciprofloxacin, ofloxacin, all these synthetic materials are called antibacterials. So now we are talking about a virus and not about a bacteria. So bacteria is a better developed animal, or in the animal kingdom, bacteria is better developed. So once something is better developed, you can break the defenses. You can break the cell membrane, we can break the growth of the organism. This is where the antibacterials and the antibiotics will come in. So basically in a viral disease, the antibiotics or antibacterials are not of direct use. But then if you have a respiratory illness, you may have, say, I have COVID, I'm coughing, I may have other bacterial infections. So I may have pneumonia and other things. So when you have other associated problems, these antibiotics will be of use in COVID-19 treatment. So basically antibiotics, they don't directly help the virus. At the same time, if you have a added bacterial infection, these antibiotics will help. Does it satisfy you? Right.
So what are the recent study and progress in curing COVID-19?
So there's a lot of research going on regarding viruses for a long time, and now the research is intensified. The main research is now towards finding a vaccine. So finding a vaccine is one of the research areas. Second is there are a number of antiviral drugs which are used for other things like HIV and AIDS and SARS and all these things. Some of the antivirals are acting. So now they're trying to either one drug or a combination of drugs, these drugs, whether they'll be helpful. And they're also working on certain things, body responds by what is called in autoimmune cytokines. So whether we can suppress the cytokines and whether we can produce better results. To start with, like you would have also known that to start with they said we need a lot of ventilators. But now people put on ventilators, they say they don't really survive. So now from the use of ventilators, we have reduced the number of ventilators being used. So every day, because it's new and it's only about 3 to 4 months old, medical community is learning. So we are learning also. Okay, so right now the research focuses on trying to find a vaccine, then trying to find a medicine, and then trying to reduce the amount of autoimmune response by the body and other supportive measures. So these are the areas of research, but still a long way to go, and we don't see any vaccine or anything coming in at least 1 year. Yes.
Can you suggest us a few reliable sources of where we can get information from?
So the best is, internationally, the best site for any authentic information is World Health Organization, WHO's website. They have a dedicated page for COVID-19. Anyone can go. There are FAQs and all these things. You can get everything from WHO site. So Indian government also, they have 2 sites based on the WHO information and Indian scenario instructions. These are the only 2 authentic sites where you can get information from. Where you should not get your information from is from your WhatsApp, right? Okay, fine.
So how safe are children from COVID-19?
See, from the last 3 to 4 months experience, COVID has not affected many children. So it's a very good thing, very good news, and children not least affected by the disease. This does not mean that children are not getting infected. Equal number of the same population, the children are getting infected, but they are not showing symptoms of COVID-19 disease, which is a very good thing for the young population. So we are very happy about it. So are
air conditioners safe for children in this situation?
Air conditioners, we have some guidelines by the government of India now. So air conditioners, what they say is particularly these isolated air conditioners, not central air conditioned system. So if you have isolated air conditioners, if you can keep your temperature between 24 to 30 degrees, okay, with a humidity of around 40. So this is the best. So what they say is if the humidity is very high, get the temperature low. If the humidity is low, get the temperature high. This is the recommendation, and this is a very simple thing. When you keep your, like in Madurai, if you keep your temperature between 24, 26 or something, which we have relatively good humidity in Madurai. So if you keep your air conditioners 24 to 26, air conditioners are good. What people do not know about air conditioners is the air conditioner functions by throwing in fresh air, and there is a cycle of air going out of the room. So air conditioner is pushing in air and taking air out. This is called one cycle. So as they are pushing in air, they also have filters. So using an air conditioner definitely is good because it regulates the temperature, it filters out the particles, and third thing, if it is in an ideal temperature, you don't sweat, you don't get tired. That way you don't lose your immunity, and I'd recommend using air conditioners at the correct temperature and humidity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is it mandatory for everyone to undergo the test for COVID-19, sir?
So it's a very interesting question. So everyone to undergo COVID-19 testing, I'll start from something. Okay, so we need kits. So if I can test, now we are not able to test 1 lakh people a day. Today in India, we are not able to test 1 lakh people a day. Okay, so even if you start testing 1 lakh people a day, you start testing today. Okay, so it will take minimum 37 years for you to complete testing. So it is just not possible to test everybody. It is not practical, it is not possible. So testing everybody is not the answer to COVID-19 problem. So if people are symptomatic, you test them. And if people say, you get somebody into your hostel as, say, a cook or someone, you want to be very sure that she's not going to infect the children. In that case, you can test that person and send her in. So these are the selected places where you can do testing, and mass testing is just not possible. Yes.
So, is there any other viral disease that exists from before and we are still not aware of it?
No, we are aware, but it's a very interesting question. So, we talk about, now we'll take two viral diseases. We'll take COVID-19 disease. The kill rate is 1%. So, if you get the disease, one person dies. Okay, there is another very common disease in our country which kills about 40,000 people annually, which is rabies. Rabies is a viral disease. And rabies, once you get rabies, the kill is 100%. Right? So there is no cure, absolutely. So when you take, one viral disease on one hand, and when you take COVID-19 and rabies, rabies is a total killer. But we have not banned dogs from the country. We have not banned dogs at home. We live with them. We take precautions. So when I say that, you don't have to be worried about a disease which is killing only one person when you're chosen to live with the virus which is killing 100%. So when I say that, I don't say this is good or this is bad. So these are the things we have to learn, we have to adjust, and we have to move ahead. Yes.
We have to take precautions against the disease.
Yes. Right, thank you. Right.
So is there any other virus that has stayed this for a long time and which is even more dangerous than COVID?
Yes, this is also very interesting because, see, there is something like flu. So 1918, a Spanish flu came and it killed 1/4 of the world's population. 1/4 of the world's population, and it killed young people, 20-year-old, 30, all healthy people were wiped out. So 1918 flu, but it didn't end there. Okay, that Spanish flu lasted 2 years, but influenza has been coming for over 100 years now, every year. So every year it is killing about 400,000 to 600,000 people in the world. Every year, influenza is killing 400,000 to 600,000 people in the world. So we don't have to be really alarmed about it, because what you should know, every day people are dying. It's not only COVID-19. So every day 150,000 people are dying in the world. Every day. So out of them, 50,000 they die of heart disease, 50,000 die of cancer, and about 50,000 die of infection. So the current scenario, when people are dying, you see large numbers. There is a very interesting thing. People dying because of COVID-19, and people dying with COVID-19. You understand the difference? So like I go to a hospital, I'm already in a terminal state of illness. I would have got the infection, I die. But I have not died of COVID-19, but I had COVID-19, I've died with COVID-19. So why is it very important is, when you look at the numbers projected every day, it is not the real number. We do not know every person dying is dying because of COVID-19. So COVID-19 is there, but we have to learn to live with it, because this is yet another virus which is in the air. There are so many other things. We got used to living with so many other viruses and risks. So we have to learn to live with COVID-19 risk also.
So we don't have to panic. People do not have to panic with COVID.
Nothing new has happened. Every day the same number of people are dying, and because of COVID-19, no more people are dying. So when you look at the death rate curve in the world, the same number of people, average number of people, if you look at, today is May 2020. You look at the people who have died in May 2019. It's the same number. So more number of people are not dying because of COVID-19. So we don't have to really panic. There is nothing to be. We have to be careful. We have to be safe. We have to follow the precautions. But you don't have to panic. Yes. Okay.
So living with this virus, so what precautions should I take when I go out for an essential purchase?
So basically we'll be going out shopping. So when we go out shopping, we are likely to use a trolley or a bag. So these are the things. You make sure that that shopkeeper has kept the trolley properly. They have cleaned it before you touch them. Otherwise, you take some hand sanitizer with you with a tissue paper. Put the hand sanitizer, tissue paper, wherever you're going to hold. Okay, you can wear a glove, but it's not practical to wear a glove all the time. So you take some hand sanitizer, clean the thing, whatever you're going to touch, that is one thing. So prevent getting infection from any of the surfaces. So when I talk about surfaces, generally if it is a plastic surface or stainless steel surface, if some droplet falls, it's going to be there for at least 3 days. If it's a cardboard box, the virus may be there for 1 day. So cardboard only 1 day, but if it's a other metallic surface, the virus may be there for 3 days. So I go touch this, I may get the virus. So two things. One is, before touching whatever I'm touching, I have to clean the surface. That is one basic thing. And many people have a tendency to go lean against the lift here. Okay, don't touch anything, stand straight. Not today. We've been practicing this for a long time. I don't let my own doctors lean against anything, bed or anything. I don't let them touch anything.
After getting all those products, what should we do when we come back home?
So when you come back home, you don't have to be, first you wash your hands first. Okay, then when you take the vegetables, just wash them like you have washed before in normal running water. You don't have to do anything else. You don't put them in salt water solution. You don't wash them with sodium hypochlorite solution. You don't do all that. We don't want to eat all those things, right? So when you take home, you take whatever you're going to eat, your vegetables, if you just wash them for about 3 to 4 minutes in normal running water, that is good enough. The next thing, carrying your bags and all these things, most of the times I told you these are called fomites, what can carry infection. But recent study says they don't play a major role in carrying or spreading infection. So you don't have to really worry about, something, a milk packet has come. Just wash it and use it. You don't be, this milk packet, it's a bomb, it's going to explode. You don't have to be so worried about it. So do as you've been doing, basic washing, everything will be fine. Right.
So we talked about antibiotics. So what is this blood plasma treatment, sir? Is it very useful or?
So you should know what plasma is. When you take the blood of somebody and keep it standing for some time, all the cell components, particularly the red cells, will settle down in the bottom. And you have a supernatant kind of a liquid or a fluid which is yellowish in color, and that is plasma. So like I told you, when either you're immunized or you're exposed to infections, your body develops antibodies. So these are the antibodies that can neutralize the virus or anything else which is going to come inside the body. So the belief that somebody has had a COVID-19 disease, they have recovered, and you take the plasma, it may have the antibodies. So the person fighting a disease needs antibodies quickly. So the theory is that if you take this plasma and give it like you give blood to somebody else, theoretically they have quicker antibodies in the circulation system, which can definitely benefit the patient. So this is actually a crude way of treating a patient. So we have like I talked about virus of rabies. So we have antibodies, ready antibodies. So when a patient comes, we can just inject the antibodies. You don't need the plasma of a dog-bitten patient. So we have antibodies. So someday has to come where we can have COVID-19 antibodies in a while. So that is the ideal situation. Now, giving plasma, you do not know how much of antibody is there. You do not know whether antibody is there at all. So there are so many ifs and buts. Because it is just an experimental thing. So plasma today is not an indicated or specific therapy. It's an experimental thing. So it will take a long time. The ideal thing is to get that antibody from the plasma and make more antibodies and give. So that's the ideal thing. So plasma right now is more an experimental thing. It is not going to help you and me today. Yes.
So what precautions should we take to protect ourselves from this virus, sir?
It's a very important question. So we talked about, one is quarantine, second is isolation. So quarantine is like you have come to the hospital, you think you would have contacted somebody, a COVID-19 patient, you go and stay home. You stay home for 2 weeks. The idea of staying home for 2 weeks is, when you have come into contact with a COVID-19 patient, your symptom may develop any time between day 1 to day 14. So if you've not had symptoms, that means probably you've not had corona infection at all. So this is quarantine, that we leave that aside. The next is we should know what is isolation. So isolation is when I have got infected. So I may be asymptomatic, I may be symptomatic. So once I have got infected, I do not know how long I'll be throwing the virus out. It may be for 10 days, it may be for 20 days. So once you go on isolation, I have to test my nasal cavity and throat for the presence of the virus. So if there is no virus, I have to still stay home or in the hospital, and you have to repeat a test after 4 days or 7 days according to the protocol. When 2 tests come negative, then you are safe. So when you are in quarantine, 14 days is enough. But when you are in isolation because of a disease, till you test negative, you are not safe to go out. In the sense, you may infect others. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay.
So coronavirus started from China, and now China has gone back to its normal life. So when will India come back to normal?
See, COVID-19 started in China, but the second wave was started in China. So it is not going to go away. This virus will come again and again. Okay. Now it is an epidemic. Epidemic is, it's going from one place to another, one place to another. This is epidemic. Eventually it will become endemic. Endemic is, it will become your neighbor or your friend. It will stay in one place. So it's called endemic. So eventually this virus will stay somewhere, and it may show some seasonal variations, like it can show up in August or it can show up in December. So this virus will stay and it will keep on coming. So the best thing is, like we said, take the precautions, and you have to start living, because livelihoods are more important than just hiding and saving some lives.
At this moment, what precautions do you suggest for us to follow while using the restroom, sir?
See, the question on the minds of most parents is whether it's safe to use a public toilet in school, and how it should be maintained, and what precautions the children should take. First of all, the management side, they'll keep the toilets clean, they'll use the disinfectants necessary, and the most important thing is you have to keep the exhaust fan going, both in the toilets and if you have a kitchen, all these places, the exhaust fan is a must. That is point number 1. Second is the question whether it is safe for majority of the children to use the same toilet. It is absolutely safe, because whatever the bioaerosols produce, it does not produce significant infection. So the parents need not be worried that my child went to that toilet and whether the child got the infection. The third thing to do is preferably see that the water doesn't splash. If you can, close the lid before flushing. If you can, not really necessary. The fourth thing is, again, when you come out, washing your hands, not touching your face. These are the basic things again. So the bottom line is, whether it is safe for the children to use the public toilet in schools, it is 100% safe to use the toilets, and the infection will not spread from the toilets. That is the message.
Thank you, sir. This is definitely something that every child, every parent and every guardian should be aware of. Thank you so much, sir.
See, talking about the potency of the virus in the long term. So virus, I can say, I told you, it's a small particle which is, the virus wants to live. So it needs a host. So it's coming into the human body, and now it's killing about 1 person. But as days go by, if the virus has to survive, it cannot kill people. So virus will also adapt in such a fashion that in the long term, the potency of the virus is going to be less and less, and the virus would like to survive. And this has been the general cause of many viruses, because the virus becomes aggressive, the host dies, and the virus cannot propagate. So end of the day, most likely we'll see the same new coronavirus in a less potent form, which may just come and go. It may live with us, and like many other, every day you have a cold for a week, you may get a cold and it'll go off. That is likely to be the end game in new coronavirus infection. So friends, we have seen, we've been living with corona for the last 3 months. nothing much has happened. So we have taken precautions, we have learnt our lessons, we know what to do when we go out. Keep your hands clean, don't touch your face, practice respiratory hygiene, and practice physical distancing. That is all. Now it's time for all of us to come out of this. We cannot be leading our life like ostriches. We know science, we know the recommendations. We can come out absolutely safe and be happy and be normal as we have always been. Now we have learned to live with the virus and we can go on living a happy life whether the virus is there or not. So wish you all a good, safe time, and bye-bye, and thank you very much from Grace Kennett Foundation. I'd like to thank Queen Mira team, particularly Mr. Abhinath, for having chosen us to do this, and thank you very much, and bye-bye. Thank you.